All right. Down in the hall. First of all, the Iden family would like to thank you very much for coming today. I know you all loved our mom, our grandma, our wife, our aunt. She had, I don't know how many sisters, but they all loved her, and we're very happy to have you here today. We have a little program we would like to present. It's not much. It's mainly talking about Marie and her life. And she led a pretty interesting life. Andrew's going to take over from here.
Yeah, my dad sort of wrote up a little bit of a history of Marie, Myrtle, Job, Iden. So we're going to go take a little trip through time, just so that everybody can. There's a lot of stuff on here that I had no idea about, and hopefully you might learn something. So Marie, Myrtle, Job, Iden. Myrtle Marie Job was born on June 18th, 1925. She was born at home in Grandview, Washington, to John and Myrtle Job. She was born the fourth of 10 children. John and Myrtle produced their children beginning in 1919 and finished in 1938.
Wow. It's a long process.
So,
20 years?
So
2 years apart?
the spread
10.
of the ages meant
10?
that the family often depended on the labor of the older kids to survive. According to young Myrtle, radish sandwiches were common on the Job table. She also decided at an early age she preferred to be called by her middle name, Marie. Marie graduated from Grandview High School and soon thereafter moved west to the Seattle Bremerton area across the mountains from Grandview and her family. With her high school pal Irene, they shared a small space in Bremerton across the sound from Seattle. She was working in Bremerton shipyards, helping to repair and make seaworthy World War II damaged battleships or aircraft carriers. She was literally a Rosie the Riveter. While working in the shipyards, which were located very close to a U.S. naval base, Marie's path was soon to cross with the path of a young Marine approaching the end of his military career. A certain John Wesley, I had no idea for sure his name was Wesley.
So it's funny, but 3 of the Job women married John Wesley's.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Say that again?
3 of the sisters married a man named John Wesley.
3 of the Job sisters married a man named John Wesley. All right, it was March 1945, right at the end there, and Marie was 20 and Jack was 22. At this time, Jack was smitten and crushing on Marie's roommate, Irene.
Cruising, huh, Jack?
Who was already spoken for. In spite of knowing that her roommate, Marie, preferred sailors, Irene decided it would be a good idea to introduce Marie to her lovesick Marine suitor. Not love at first sight. It took a couple of dates before Marie and Jack fell in love. It took a couple more dates and a proposal of marriage, and she surprised him by asking if she could have some time to think about it. This after she initiated their first kiss. Marie went home.
The
to
hussy that
Grandview.
she was.
So she traveled home to Grandview, and by the time of her arrival there, she had already decided to become Mrs. Jack Iden. In mid-June, maybe 3 months from when they started dating, and after taking the Puget Sound ferry from Bremerton to Seattle, they were married in a small church with no family present and with strangers as witnesses on June 16th, 1945. They took a bus to Lake Wilderness and enjoyed a one-night in a cabin honeymoon, as Jack had to be back on base the next day. Upon his discharge, the newlyweds made their first trip to Grandview to meet Marie's family. Jack was stunned by the size of Marie's family and the fact that, with the exception of older sister Louise, all the remaining kids were still at home. At this time, I would like to introduce Karin. Karin is the daughter of Marie's younger sister Virginia, who they called Aunt Ginny. Karin will tell us a little bit about their life in Grandview, particularly the house where the Job children were born, and the fact that the house still stands today.
It does. So our grandma and grandpa lived in a 1-bedroom house with 10 children.
Huh?
And my mom remembers that when she was probably in late elementary to early junior high age, 4 of them used to lay across the bed sideways. And at that point, grandpa had been moved out to the bedroom in the back porch because that was the only way not to have 11 or 12 or 13 children. So him and Frank shared a bedroom from that point forward. And grandma's family came from Lewistown, Montana every year and worked as migrant workers in the Grandview Valley. That's where they started. They lived across the street from the swimming pool, so they were in the pool literally every moment that they weren't in school or working, because they actually got up every morning before school and would go pick whatever it was that was, whether it be hops or grapes or whatever, and they would work before going to school, and then they'd go to school, and then after school they would work again. And that's how they fed their family during the 20s.
Wow.
Is that what you wanted me to do?
Very interesting. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karin.
Uh-huh.
So, soon after all of this, the young couple was on a train from Grandview to Los Angeles, California, which is Jack's hometown. Marie was warmly welcomed into the Iden family bosom, and Jack and Marie stayed with his parents in the Atwater section of LA for a few months until they could buy their first home in Baywood Street in Los Feliz?
No, it's
Nobody
Atwater.
knows.
Yeah, one or the other neighborhood, virtually on the banks of the mighty Los Angeles River across from Griffith Park. So they soon, after moving there, they soon welcomed the birth of their first son, Michael, on August 7th, 1946. He was joined 3.5 years later by his brother Stephen on March 10th, 1950. After a few years, the family moved to Anaheim, California, to a 4th Street tract of homes surrounded by strawberry fields and orange groves. That's nice. The two boys spent their elementary school years in the Loara School District. In 1958, the family moved to here, the Pico Rivera house, and this house is where the family has lived since that time, 1958. Raising her two boys occupied her time into the early 60s. You might have noticed the picture loop that Marie had a real sense of personal style. Always looking her best, and most often the result was stunning. I think we can all agree.
Hear, hear.
In 1966, her eldest Michael was drafted, ultimately given the choice of joining the ground troops in Vietnam for 2 years. Remember, this is 1966. Vietnam was on fire. Or 4 years in the U.S. Navy. He chose the latter, and she was soon to join the special group of being the mother of a son of war. She rose to it, the only way she could. She was an awesome letter writer, and those letters were important to her son during this time of being away from home and participating in an unpopular war. During his older brother's absence, Steve became a popular student and fearsome water polo player at El Rancho High School here in Pico Rivera. After becoming empty nesters, Marie and Jack found their passions together. Marie became a very good bowler. Her lifetime average, which is insane.
It is insane.
A 220.
Oh my God.
That's her average. That's her average. Her last team competition in 2001. She only quit at the time because she felt she'd lost her mojo and didn't want to bring the team down. With Jack, they
She was only doing 180.
With Jack, they boldly traveled the entire length of Baja California in a motorhome with their dog. During this time, and with much hard work, the two of them built a successful and competitive construction company. Pennant Construction was born here in this house, grew in this house, and among its many construction projects was the initial phase of the Pepperdine campus in Malibu. See lots of pictures if you guys are just downstairs.
Yeah.
Jack was the CEO.
I'll have to correct you there.
I need that.
Oh,
I
well.
Don't
supervised
allow him any
Pepperdine as a project manager for another company.
I revised.
I did
Doesn't
this-
matter. We're
I
giving
just-
you the credit today.
Okay.
Jack was the CEO of Pennant Construction.
Who did the surveying before the buildings were built? Jack, remember
That was, Olin Murray.
Who
You
lived
know
up? Who lived in a teardrop trailer?
Oh, it's
On the
trying to
campus.
get credit for Steve.
the hill.
Oh, my goodness. What David did, if you want to see survey, it would be.
You finally show up.
It wouldn't be a survey in the sense of property lines, it was survey in the sense of determining quantities of dirt moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll add it. We're adding a little tag on here that says, with massive contributions by his son Steven.
Dirt was 33 cents a yard, and they moved 4.5 million yards, and I measured every yard.
Good.
Right.
Good.
Woohoo!
And who is your office manager?
Who
Who is the office manager of Pennant Construction?
Yeah.
Marie.
Marie.
Yeah.
really is whenever I drive past.
Well, Dolores, really.
Dolores was the ever loyal secretary. All right, this whole thing is going way off the track.
Not really.
We're going to jump ahead to the late 70s here. In the early 80s, Jack and Marie welcomed daughter-in-laws Susan and Laura. In 1980, Marie and Jack welcomed the birth of their first grandchild, Emily Caroline.
Aww.
Soon followed by grandson Andrew Michael and granddaughter Jennifer. After retiring Pennant Construction, Marie and Jack enjoyed their life here on Parsons Boulevard. Jack, ever the construction man, worked and improved their home, and Marie loved her plants. I think a lot of the improvements on this home, some of us added to it, mainly you. Where are we going? Marie loved her plants, her tomatoes, her avocado trees. We all loved her avocado trees.
And her
And
pigeons.
And especially her animals and her pigeons, which are all still out there if anyone wants to say hi. In 2011, Marie and Jack welcomed grandson-in-law Trevor Murphy.
I'm hiding back
There
here.
he is. And in 2014, they welcomed the birth of their great-granddaughter, Caroline Maisie Murphy. And if I could just add a little bit of a personal touch here, I don't think I've ever seen Grandma so happy than when my sister announced that she was going to be a great-grand. The noise she made in that moment of like, ah! I've never seen that on Grandma before. I'd seen her happy many times, but that was an abundance of joy at the announcement of that. In 2017, they welcomed great-granddaughter Una Astrid Murphy. Beautiful girls born to Maisie's granddaughter, Emily, and her husband, Trevor. Marie was a woman of great loyalties and devotion. 2020 would have marked the 75th year of Marie and Jack's union.
Oh.
That's a lot. A committed partner, Marie took care of her Marine, her boys, her long line of beloved dogs, and her cherished home. Undaunted by a fall out of a fig tree, can we just also point out that in her 90s she was climbing a tree? And dealing with failing health, and with the unflinching help of her devoted husband, Jack, Marie kept up the good fight until pneumonia finally took her on March 1st in Downey, California, with family at her side. I will just say one final thing for myself also. I'm about to get... Sorry, pardon me? I'm about to get married myself in January. And last moment that I ever had with Grandma was her showing how happy she was for us. It's really good.
There she was, yeah.
She was very happy. It's another one of those things where Grandma was a very stoic person, I think, a lot of the time, but every once in a while you'd crack through and she'd suddenly just bubble over with joy.
Her face would light up.
Yeah, her face would light up, and I got to experience that a couple times in the last experience I have with Grandma is one of those moments when we were talking about where we were going to get married and all that kind of stuff. It was
Thank you, Andrew.
really cool. Yeah.
We'd like to invite any of you who want to talk about Marie. Feel free, the floor is yours. We'd love to hear from you. Any anecdotes, any stories?
I'll break the seal.
Yeah.
Because I know there's people who've known Marie longer, but Marie was a terrific. She was just a great lady, and so the story that I want to tell about Marie, because I didn't really know her very well. I'd met her maybe once or twice before we got married, and then so on the day of my wedding, so this is almost 8 years ago. So I was in my wedding suit, not a suit I can still fit into, by the way. Doesn't matter. So I'm waiting in this room, and I can see where we're getting married, and we got married outside, and then somebody that was helping coordinate the wedding comes back and says, "Hey, Emily's grandparents, Jack and Marie, they've already taken their seats for the ceremony." And I said, "Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, whatever." And he said, "They're sitting on the wrong side." And I said, "All right, okay." I said, "Please go out there and say, could you please, move over to the other side?" "Okay, great, no problem." Now I'm gonna still like looking at, whatever it is I need to look at. Comes back and says, "She says they don't want to move." And I said, okay. So this is a lady who clearly bends things to her will. And I was like, wow, that must be where Emily gets it from. So I said, okay, let's do this. Is anybody else sitting down? They said no. I said, then switch everybody to the other side. Wherever they were supposed to sit, just put them on the other side and let Marie and Jack sit where they are. Now that's him. She comes back and says, "Marie's got their dog with them."
Bandy.
Bandy. And I said, "I can't do a thing about it. So we're done with this." So then everybody sat on the other side from where they were expected. The wedding went off without a hitch. Everything was terrific. And then Bandy was sort of a hit of the wedding. And then, after that, as I got to know Jack and Marie better, they were always super warm to me, and they were always very welcoming of our family. They've been terrific with their great-granddaughters, Caroline and Una. And Marie was always extremely welcoming of Count Timothy the Great, who's the little black dog who's walking around here now. And so I know that Timmy wanted to say goodbye, and then because Bandy came to our wedding, I wanted to make sure that Timmy was here at the end where we're all remembering Marie, and she was just terrific, and I'm so sorry she's gone, and I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Trevor.
I could peg on to what he just said about Marie's stubbornness.
It's pretty well known.
A friend of mine, a young Marine, we've been going to a writing course together, and he invited me to the wedding. So we went, and at the wedding, the young Marine had only one person, that was his aunt or something. And it turned out that she was rather peeved because she didn't feel that her side of the family was getting enough attention. Well, I didn't quite go along with that. After all, the bride's fathers or parents were putting up all the money, and this was a very expensive wedding. They were quite conscious of the fact that this is a status thing. So the Mary struck up a friendship with this aunt or whatever she was, and so the aunt invited us to sit at the table. We didn't know then that she had no right to do this. She was assuming this right because her little nephew or whatever was getting married. I mean, she was invited to the table, that's all. And they had a couple of friends that they wanted to sit at the table. They couldn't because Marie and I were sitting there. Well, one of the guy's Marine's friends come by and he says, "Can we talk to you a little bit?" So I went over and talked to him. I said, "Look, there's a embarrassing thing here. She shouldn't have asked you and your wife to sit here. And but we'd like you to join us with Marine." I said, "That's great with me. I don't care whether I sit there or not." So I went back to Marine. I said, "He wants us to move." She said, "I'm not moving." And I said, "Marie, we weren't supposed to be here." Well, she asked me, I'm here, that's it. Right away, she's ready to fight.
Yeah.
And I could tell they were getting pretty antsy over there because the salad course had been served, and here were these people that really should have been there. So finally I decided, well, I think we've been here long enough. I said, Marie, I think we ought to go. And we left. We left the wedding long before I would have liked to have. But when she's loyal to a friend, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else counts.
I just want to share that she participated in all of my children's graduations, weddings, getting ready for homecomings. She would tell them, oh no, you have to fix your hair a certain way. You have to put this in your hair, and she would bring items from her dressing room and put it on my girls' hair to dress them up. And then she'd say, no, you've got to wear this skirt. And she'd lend my daughter a leather tight skirt. My daughter's never worn leather skirt. And a leather jacket to go with it. And she says, no, you have to wear this at a certain time. And but she always shared with my girls throughout all of their, graduations and weddings and everything that took place, and even the birth of my grandchildren. She was always around, and they took latest pictures of my youngest daughter. That was the last pictures that we took in December with her. But I'm very thankful that she was like a second grandmother to my kids.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have grandmothers. They passed away in the 80s, early 80s. But she meant a lot to them.
Well, I'm not sure that enough has been said about Marie and her animals.
Oh, that's a good topic.
When I first met the Iden family, which was 40 years ago, I remember that you had a household that had Tony, a little poodle, and Mei Ling, which
Siamese.
was a cat, and Mei Ling's mother, Monkey. And at that time, those animals ruled the household, that was for sure. And that was just an introduction to the generations of animals that came afterwards. I remember, wasn't there a Brandy and a Bandy, I think, dogs?
First one was
Gigi.
Gigi, yeah. Then there was
Tony.
Tony, yeah.
Brandy
And we had a
was
police
the
dog in
boxer.
there. He wasn't.
What about the
He
boxer?
was a
What was
little.
the boxer?
And the boxer, that was
Pixie.
Pixie.
That's
Yeah.
Pixie.
Yeah, in fact, we have a graveyard out here with Pixie, Tony, and Bandy lined up.
Bandy, yeah. I thought you had another one besides those three, though.
Heidi.
You did.
Gigi.
Gigi
Gigi.
was a black poodle.
Okay, was that beforehand? Or that was?
Gigi was.
I thought you had one in between Tony and Bandy, too.
No, Gigi was before Tony.
Anyway,
She was between Pixie and Tony, yeah.
either way, dogs, especially cats, just in the last few years, she was raising pigeons in a big pigeon coop, and would go out and take care of them tenderly every single day and make sure that, they were being well fed and water and everything like that. If she found a little baby bird or something that
It's the
had
hummingbirds.
been,
There were hummingbirds for a while.
Yeah,
One
hummingbirds.
actually just came by a little earlier.
yes. Anyway, anything that, any animal was a blessing to her, and something that she was immediately willing to be a mother to if it was needed. My sister, who's here, and I hope I'm not going to steal her story, but she reminded me yesterday we were talking about dogs, and she reminded me that one time you guys were on vacation in Europe, I think, and we were taking care of the dog, and you guys called home to check in,
Yeah.
and it was really nice of you to call, but the first person that Marie wanted to talk to was her dog. To make sure that the dog was feeling fine, and then after that, then she talked to all of the rest of us. So that was some place where she was able to just pour out her heart to animals, and animals in need, and any kind of animal.
There was a side story to pigeons.
Oh?
That's how we got them. We had a guy next door, he was kind of a grown-up juvenile delinquent, and he used to sit in his backyard with his BB guns and he'd pop pigeons. And I wouldn't have minded if he killed them, but he would wing them and then come fluttering down into the yard. And we accumulated about 4 pigeons that way because Ray would run out and go, "Oh, you poor little thing," and she'd buy a cage and put them in. So we had these little cages scattered around, and I said, "Well, if we're gonna do that, but I said, you might, this is torture to keep in that little pent-up cage." So I built a cage, probably bigger than I should have, and she immediately adopted it. And that's what we got.
I began to feel it.
She took in stray cats when, the nurse Charlotte, was that her name? When she passed away, Charlotte, remember that nurse that she would go visit?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
When she passed, she took on her 2 cats.
Oh, this kid.
I remember the big orange one, and there was another one. Yeah, she always took in animals.
Well, she took in me a couple times, Jack.
You did?
Well, yeah. I mean, Steve and I and Jim would come back from our exploits on a late Friday night or early Saturday morning and decide I probably shouldn't drive home. So I'd wake up on the couch here, which was a smart thing to do. So she took in humans too.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything about Grandma's red leather pants.
About what?
Grandma's red leather pants. It's always something that, like, I would tell people, my grandma wears red leather pants.
Oh.
Like, does your grandma wear red leather pants? So that's something I always think of when I think of Grandma. I was just trying to think of, what are my impressions of Grandma, or the things that I'll sort of always remember about her. And we've obviously touched on the stubbornness and that, but I just remember, like, any family get to, Christmas, Thanksgiving, one of the funniest things that would always happen is at some point either my dad or Steve or Grandpa would annoy Grandma, and then you just hear her say, "Mike, Steven, Jack," and it was never, like, uncomfortable for the rest of us. It was always funny.
Yeah.
And then, like, there were, like, especially, like, Jenna and Andrew and I would just start, like, laughing because it was always just funny that they were getting in trouble. It wasn't a scary thing. It wasn't it wasn't an unpleasant thing. It was a funny thing. But especially in, like, later years as I had kids, like, you could also see Grandma, like, turn on a dime from being that Jack to being so tender, like, toward my kids. And one of my favorite pictures, really of all pictures of my kids, I think is in here, and it's of her with Una when she first met Una, and she just looks so happy if you see her in the slideshow that's going through. And like Andrew, I'm lucky because my very last conversation with her was probably the sweetest conversation I ever had with her as well. Because she would call me sometimes, especially after I had kids, she would call me just to see how's it going. It was not a super long call, but it was always just I'm checking in with you sort of call. And a month and a half ago or so, maybe, she called because I'd sent her a holiday card, and so she called just to tell me, like, how beautiful my girls were. And it was just a really sweet conversation that I'll always be glad for. And I'll miss her terribly. Thanks.
Well, I got my competitive spirit from one person.
Somebody.
That's right.
There was nothing she wouldn't be competitive about. She was a great bowler and tried to teach me how to bowl. And because I was so competitive, I wouldn't listen, and then she'd drub me time after time. she between the love of sports and the love of gardening, I think are the two things that I'm left with. Is that she loved tearing up that front yard. If there was a bramble or something that was in the way, she would just say, "Stephen, get up! We're going outside. We're gonna hit it." And she would work. It would be just like weeds and stuff pulling out and grass flying, and she would just tear it apart. She could work as long as anybody wanted to, and it was always with the greatest attitude. This is a job we got to get done, get it out of our way. We're going to enjoy it while we're doing it. We're going to enjoy the fruits of our labor when we're done. And to this day, that's how I still look at it.
There's been a lot of talk of her loyalty. I'll give you one instance of that. At the low point of my career, and I mean low point, I had, all I had left was the equity in this house, and from that we eventually emerged. But at this particular time, I told her, I said, "This is a big house, and all I'm making it won't support it." She says, "Well, I'll get a job." I said, "Well, what are you doing?" She says, "I'll get a job." Next thing I knew, she was working as the jewelry section.
Charles of the Ritz makeup.
Huh?
She was working in the Charles of the Ritz makeup section.
Oh, is that it? Okay. And anyway, other was jewelry. Oh. Well, whatever it was, she was good at it.
Yeah.
And she was selling it. But she conceived a friendship. And when you're Marie's friend, I mean, you're her friend. So the manager came down one day, and he told this friend, that she was fired. And the cause was she was suspected of stealing. And the girl was broken up, and she sobbed to Marie, "I didn't steal, I didn't. So Marie just marched in and says, "Well, now, you're totally wrong here. She didn't steal." He says, "Now, Mrs. Eiden, you've been doing well, selling here and so forth, but this is not any of your concern." She says, "Well, I'm making it my concern. I'm quitting." Bam. So there went my support. I didn't need it, but. No, if you're her friend, that's it. She was on your team.
Well, I work for Jack. He'd go to work, and then we'd take our shoes off. We were always barefoot. He was barefoot too. Before you go to work.
Yeah.
And we were barefoot. And then he told us when we moved to the office that we couldn't be barefoot anymore, we had to wear shoes. So we didn't like that very well. So we didn't leave. We take off our shoes. Anyway.
Yeah, you were with us, what, 4 or 5 years?
I think it was more like close to 10.
10? Well, yeah, we started 34, yeah, that's right, yeah.
The last I saw her, she was barefoot outside. And Marie, it's freezing cold.
Yeah.
Our feet were like leather.
She said, "This
Yeah, she walked all around here.
Yeah, but he'd
Yard,
run around in
everything,
the morning with
barefoot.
those shoes too.
She what?
Before you get dressed up to go, you run around with those shoes.
Yeah.
always barefoot, always. I think I saw her in shoes 3 times in 45 years. And dress shoes, I don't think I've ever seen her in dress shoes, but she made it a point to tell my girls, you have to wear heels with that.
Oh, if we dressed up, she had some pretty good ideas. But that's the only time she would put them on, was she was dressed up to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that was really good, everybody. Thank you very much. We've got lots of food, we've got cupcakes, we invite you to stay as long as you like. Conversation with Jack, with us, whatever. But again, we thank you all for coming. It was really sweet of you.